Hello. Just putting on my lip balm. Hello. Graciela Sanchez. Graciela Sanchez. Is that right? Graciela. Wouldn't be Graciela. Great Graciela. I know how to say Sanchez, so halfway there. Okay, I'm always messing up names. I got clients all over the world. I don't even try and say their names half the time. Okay, hello Taylor and Wendy. Welcome to the live. I've been sort of out of commission all week. I've been coaching all week and doing other work, but I haven't done any lives because I've been sick all week. So tonight I'm just going to go to bed really early. And it's funny, when you work for yourself, you can make your own hours, but when you work for yourself, you still have to work 7 days a week. So just depends on what times. Okay. So I miss doing these lives. I really like them. I'm not doing the regularly scheduled ones anymore because my schedule just didn't allow. And how perfect. I just stopped doing them just in time for my cold this week. So it worked out great because I kind of lost my voice after coaching all day. So, okay. Just waiting for people to turn up. I haven't got anyone on YouTube yet. YouTube is my smallest platform. So, that's actually the best place to watch me because if you put a question in there, I pretty much will always see it. Whereas on these social media platforms, I don't know, I get a lot more people on them. So, okay. I got enough people. We'll just get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom and I'm also a grandmother. If you go to my website, BratBusters.com, you can see my free behavior board, my boot camp course for toddlers, my boot camp course for 3 to 12-year-olds, or you can look into coaching. I just took on several more clients this week. So, because last week I expected to take on more clients than I told people I was going to, and then I couldn't. So sorry about that. But yeah, my previous clients had re-signed, so they always get first priority. So, but yeah, this week I finished up with some clients. So I took on a bunch of new clients. So it was good. Because I always feel bad when there's a wait list. Anyway, that's coaching. So anyway, welcome. And what was I going to say? I feel like I had an announcement. Oh, yeah. So we're not doing the regularly scheduled lives anymore. I'm just popping up when I can on these lives. And then also we're doing 2 podcasts a week now because it's just taken off. So we're just doing what you guys are watching and, so whatever gets the most attention is where we put our attention, right? So obviously people want the podcast. I can't do everything. So, anyway, and my daughter just tells me what to do. So I don't always know why we're doing stuff. She's very much in charge of the planning. I hate doing all that stuff anyway. Okay, so let's get going with your questions. I'll do my best to answer as many as possible. And I do like to mix up the ages. So I sometimes do skip through questions, or if I get too many, not so much on Facebook, but Instagram and TikTok get really busy. So I will skip through questions just because I just get too many, or I'm trying to mix up ages. Okay. So just if you got any questions, you can let me know. I've had a lot of laughs this week with clients. A lot of funny things have been happening in coaching. So I love what I do. If you can't laugh at yourself and laugh at what we do wrong, and you're going to have problems in life. Like, life's funny. We all mess up from time to time. So yeah, some really funny things have happened. Okay. Life's messy. Parenting's messy. Life's messy. In a good and a bad way sometimes. Okay, so I'm just waiting for your questions. Yeah, I'm not usually on at this time, and I'm not usually on Friday. Just I'm sick, so I'm just getting over my cold now. So planning on going to bed really early tonight. Excuse me. So I'm just waiting. I haven't got any questions coming in. That's really unusual. Okay, there we go. How do I deal with a 3-year-old interrupting? They're old enough to know not to interrupt. So just say no interrupting and then explain what that is. So when I'm talking to your dad or your mom, or when I'm talking to a friend, you don't interrupt unless it's an emergency. So put it on the behavior board. Say no interrupting is their rule. And you could use a signal, like, because they're probably so used to interrupting that they don't even know when they're doing it. So use a signal. You can just say, when I go like this, like tug my ear, when I touch my nose, that means you're interrupting, and there'll be a consequence if you do it again. So you're giving them one warning with that because they might not be aware they're doing it. Plus they're little, they're only 3. Okay, this is from Kira. Is that how you pronounce that? Oh, sugar. Sorry, I lost it. There it is. 9 and 7-year-old constantly fighting so much so that at school it becomes a huge problem. So it becomes a problem at school even. So yeah, I would, well, I don't know how they're fighting. You got 9 and 7-year-old constantly fighting so much at school. Why is it a problem at school? I don't quite understand that. What are they doing? They're not in the same class. I don't understand why they're fighting at school. How is it a problem at school? Can you elaborate on that? I'm curious. Just because they wouldn't be in the same grade, so I don't understand. Okay, that's a good question. I've answered it lots of times before, but you probably are new here. So when doing the behavior board with 3-year-old, you start with one behavior, but if they do another bad behavior, do you give that behavior a consequence too, even if not on the board yet? Yeah, the behavior board is a standalone. You're only focusing on that. Never put those consequences to anything else. It's just a teaching tool. You're just focusing on changing one thing at a time. Then in the second week, you're going to have another behavior board. Now you got two rules. Then you're going to have 3. All the other stuff that they're doing bad and wrong and you know that they're acting out, do whatever you were doing before, but never apply those consequences to anything that is not on the board. It gets all muddled up. All you're doing is you're focusing on that. Everyone wants to know how you address everything in day 1. It doesn't work. You would just self-destruct if I told you. I would deal with everything in day 1. I would never use a behavior board. It's a teaching tool. So I'm teaching you how to handle one rule at a time. One bad behavior, one battle at a time per week. The other stuff, do whatever you were doing before. The whole idea is by the time you've done 3 behavior boards, you should start to feel more empowered, and then you know how to deal with everything. The other behaviors start to drop away. That's the idea. It's not always that simple, but that's the idea. So it's just teaching you how to lead. It's a teaching tool for you. Remember, we're not fixing kids here. We're fixing and teaching parents. You're learning how to lead. At what age should you worry and seek professional help if your child hasn't started saying words? Oh, I can't answer that. I don't know. And don't worry too much about those. I always forget what it's called. Milestones. It's not the word I'm looking for. But, when they say they should be crawling at this age, they're not. They're all different. Like my granddaughter starting to walk at 11 months old. Her dad was exactly 12 months and his sister was 14 months. They're all different. But I don't know, how old you should worry about that. I did know someone years and years ago. She was completely functional as an adult, but when she was a kid, she didn't walk or talk till she was 3. Her mother was very funny and used to say that she never walked or talked till she was 3. And then on her 3rd birthday, she stood up, ran around the house and never shut up. So, oh, hi, Katie. Ooh. Oh, so a few people have noticed that. That's my artwork. I think I'd call it that. My daughter and I had a painting party and it was pink and red, which I never liked. So I thought I'll do it green, but it looks more blue to me. Anyway, I don't like it. I'm no good at that, but I think I'll go out and buy something. What had happened was I had pictures of my kids up there before when they were little and you couldn't recognize them today. But you get some creepy people on here because I've got a big following now and you get some weirdos. And I just didn't like the idea of anyone who could look at the pictures of my kids, even as babies, and blow them up and look at them. Oh, that's why I got rid of all the family pictures. That's why we had our painting party, my daughter and I. Her paintings are way nicer than mine. Oh, recess and breakfast and lunch. So you got 9 and 7-year-old kids and they're fighting at recess and breakfast and lunch. Okay, you can only really work at home, but you can put on the behavior board, no fighting, okay? I know it's ridiculous. No fighting, it's all fixed, yay. It's not that easy. Just put down no fighting and then have the school report to you if they've been fighting at school also. So use a consequence. Like check out the behavior board. It's completely free. And then you just put, if they do fight at school or at home, then there's a consequence, the first one. You can do it twice, that first consequence. You'll see when you get the behavior board, you'll see what I mean. If they do it a third time that day, 3 strikes, you're out, you go to the second consequence. There's always 2 consequences for kids. The first one is a positive action. You get them to do something as a consequence. It's not always easy to do. The second one is a negative deprivation, like 24-hour media blackout or something. So if they fight 3 times in a day, you're saying, yeah, it's going to be 30, right? So let's say then you're always going to be doing 24-hour media blackout. They'll eventually learn. If it gets that bad and you can't handle it, that might be next level. That might be coaching. Okay, so North Carolina. Howdy, Sharon. I have a 2-year-old, 1-year-old, and a 3-month-old. Oh, and you've got time to write? Wow. All boys. How do I keep the 2-year-old from pushing and taking things from the 1-year-old while I'm nursing the baby? I'm not sure I can help you because that is physically demanding. I always say, you're my least favorite client because what am I supposed to tell you? You're breastfeeding a baby. You got a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. It's my least favorite client because I feel the most helpless. What can I tell you to do? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. The only thing that I found with clients that sometimes helps is your breastfeeding time is your time to also play games with the other ones. Have the 1-year-old on one side of you and the 2-year-old on the other side, and you can just be playing or reading a book to them or something. That's the only thing I've ever found that can potentially help. Otherwise, it's physical. You know what I mean? Is there an answer to that? I don't know. If anyone else has any suggestions, have at it. Sorry about that, but it's just physical. It's a short period of time, though. They're going to be little for very, very small amount of time. You'll look back on this and think, wow, how did I do that? Making fun and calling names and becomes chasing and sometimes ends in explosions. You might want to look into coaching. That might be next level stuff because I don't think there's an easy answer. I don't know the history. I don't know what kind of parent you are. So if it's that bad, I don't know if I'd have to assess the situation to really give you an effective answer. This is just quick, quick answers here. I would have a lot more questions about your style of parenting. Okay. I'm dealing with helping my 4-year-old learn to control his anger. Any tips? I don't do that. I don't fix kids. I fix parents. Work on your leadership. Generally, your leadership, your calm leadership, is what calms them down. Anger past the age of 4, if they're still having angry outbursts, it's a tell. It means that you got to work on your leadership. Having a strong leader that they can really trust to be calm and lead them, tends to calm them down. It regulates their emotions. You can't show them how to do it. You have to be a leader, and then it will calm them down. They're feeding off you usually. Okay. Twin 5-year-old boys, consequences for one boy when they are fighting over one toy. Consequences just check out the behavior board. But make sure you get the right culprit. Oftentimes the hitter is the victim. The other one did something first. Like usually if a kid hits another kid, it's usually in retaliation of something. So make sure you get the right perpetrator and the right victim. That's kind of hard to tell. Oftentimes parents get that wrong. I know sometimes I'll talk to parents and they'll say, you keep saying that the older one or whatever is beating up the younger one, but what's the younger one doing? They're a perfect angel. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Sure enough, we'll take a hidden video or something and you'll see the younger one doing something, just poking them, doing something. So make sure you get the right culprit. The behavior board is at BratBusters.com, and it's really explicit instructions on how to get it. It is actually a mini course. That's why it's on Podia, which is where we have all our courses, and it is completely free. But you do have to sign up to Podia to get an account to get access to the behavior board. It's sort of a mini course. So yeah, it's on BratBusters.com. And watch out, there's a whole bunch of imposters out there. They're copying everything I do. They're using all my videos. They'll write down all my scripts, what I say, and they'll say that. Just be careful with all that stuff because, it's just can't be helped. Okay. Oh, please help me with any tips or ideas with haircuts. That's another one I can't help you much with, but I'll tell you what I did with, I don't remember which one of my kids it was. They were terrified of the dentist. So you know what ended up happening was me laying there in the dental chair with my kid on my chest. We both had our mouths open and we were both being worked on at the same time. So, and I was humming something at the same time. Yeah, that's a fear. And if someone's working on them, it's literally a fear. So I can't help you when your kids are afraid. You see, it's literally a fear. There are specialist hairdressers. I used to cut my kids' hair, actually. I remember once I was cutting my son's hair around the ears, and I snipped a little piece of his ear off, but it didn't even bleed, but it just had that little pink dots on it where I just snipped the skin a little bit. And he was he was very sensitive, right? If he got hurt, he was very cautious, didn't like to do anything dangerous. And I thought, oh my God, he's going to scream. He never even noticed. So I wasn't the best hairdresser. Hi from New Zealand. Hello. I've got several clients in New Zealand right now. We used to ski there because we lived in Australia. So we used to ski in Queenstown. Yeah. This is Hannah. Helpless is exactly where I'm at. LOL. Struggling with so many boys that are so young. Yeah. Lots of people like to get it all over with. So they'll have kids bang, bang, bang all in a row. And, but yeah, it's a hell of a first few years, but then, you got them all off at school at the same time virtually, and they often become friends or enemies. There's no guarantees with that. But yeah, there's pluses and minuses to both. I had 5 years between my two, only because I had a miscarriage and I had back surgery in between. So it wasn't planned, but I'm really glad it worked out that way because I only had 2 kids. So my son went off to grade 1 and then I had a newborn. So I got all that time with him alone. And then I got all that time with her, just focused on her. So she never missed out on one speck of attention because he was at school. But it wasn't planned, but there is no ideal way. They do say that 7 years is a cutoff. And what they mean by that is after 7 years, they don't grow up as siblings. Like if they're more than 7 years apart, they don't grow up together, really. There's too many years between. I can attest to that. My brother was like 16 years older. I grew up with 3 adults in the house. So I was like an only child, as would he have been, right? There's too many years. It's not like we grew up together. I mean, I remember he drove me to school once and everyone thought it was my father. Like he wasn't fighting over my Barbies or anything, right? Bedwetting tips? No, I've got none. I need to know the age, the history. Is it a medical condition? How to be potty trained if they are potty trained, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Any tips for phrasing chores for 4 to 6 year olds? I don't know what you mean by phrasing. You mean trying to make it easy? I don't do that. I'll assume you mean that. Trying to make it easy? No, maybe not. Maybe you don't mean that. A lot of people say, how do I make chores fun? I would never want to make chores fun. I like kids to learn how to do the hard stuff. I think that's really important. I think that's pleaser parents want to make everything fun and easy for their kids. They're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues who live at home till they're 40 years old. I mean, you're just not building strong individuals. Yeah, you don't want to make everything fun. You want to teach your kids some stuff is hard. I remember I made my kids go out and get part-time jobs when they were 15, and I was praying they'd have to scrub a public toilet. It wasn't their job, but they both had to do it in where they were working. I think they both had to do it more than once. So, and I was like, yes, I wanted them to learn how to do tough stuff. I wanted them to be strong. Okay, and they're both super hard workers. Okay, I'm going to move over to Instagram now if you want to join me over there. And I'm on YouTube the whole time. So anyway, look at BratBusters.com if you want to find my free behavior board, my boot camp courses, or look into coaching. And thanks so much for watching, and I'm popping over to Instagram. Bye now. Popping over. Was I trying to be cool or something? So hip. Yeah, at my age, I'm not going for hip. I'm just more concerned with breaking a hip. Okay. No one uses the word hip anymore anyway. So I'm just talking to YouTube. Just a sec. Okay. Now I'm live on Instagram. They turn up really fast on here. Just wait. Give my voice a break because I've got a cold still. Hello. Oh, look at you all come here. I didn't know how many people were going to turn up tonight because it's such a weird time. I'm just at the tail end of my cold. I haven't been doing lives all week just because I've been so sick. So, because I still had to coach all week. So I can imagine losing my voice. I had a lot of was gargling with hot tea, trying to keep my voice. Okay, so welcome to the live. If you're new, if you're not new, welcome back. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom. I'm also a grandmother. And if you go to BratBusters.com, you can see my free behavior board, my boot camp courses. I have one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds, or you can look into coaching. Our podcast, my daughter and I, is going twice a week now. It's Thursdays and Tuesdays. We're just responding to what you're going to. So the podcast has just been taking off. So we're doing 2 of them a week now. We might even increase that. Who knows? So that's why we're not doing the regularly scheduled lives anymore. we're getting way more people going in on the podcast. So and I can't do everything, right? Do you offer one-time video consultations? I don't know what you mean by one-time video consultations. I do coaching, and I only have packages. I don't even know how long I'll be doing that, I'll be honest. I just love doing it, but it's just I'm so busy these days. Yeah, so I've just got coaching. I remember I used to sell one coaching session, or one and then a 3-session package. It's not enough. Now I've got 5. That's why the boot camp course is 5 weeks. It really takes 5 weeks. The first 3 weeks are behavior boards. Then the next 2 are like tweaking everything and adjusting everything. But one session, I hated it because I just felt like I couldn't pack enough in, you know, and and then I had to sort of throw too much in. Do I throw too much in and overwhelm them, or not enough? So yeah, I hated it. It was never effective. So, but yeah, I don't do that anymore. I do what works best, which is 5 sessions. And then I feel like I can do a good job. Okay. My 2-year-old isn't listening at all. That sounds like a 2-year-old to me. Yep. I'll read out, the podcast is called BratBusters Parenting. I'll read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers, just to give you a few tips. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill. They just start to look at you differently when you enter their world. Number 4 is similar. You discipline a toddler in their world. They're not about words or mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings and big emotions. That's absolute crap. I don't know who's teaching it. I don't care. I don't know anyone else out there, but it's garbage. Forget about it. They're about actions. You use consistent corrective actions. They're not going to learn the first 20 times, maybe the first 50 times. It's repetition, repetition, repetition with toddlers. Number 5, stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. They've just got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years. In the first year, you were a potato laying on a mattress. They're brand new. Just imagine that, though. Really think about it. If you've only been in the world for 2 years, and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress, and the second year, whoa, you're up and you're walking. You can actually scream and get attention. You can get attention. You can get into stuff. Wow, what a world. What a world. So yeah, they're just forming. So I'm just scrolling ahead to make sure you're still here while I answer your questions. My 8 and 10-year-old girls, the middle of 4 kids, so you've got older and younger, battle. The 10-year-old always wants to control the 8-year-old. Help. If they're always fighting, there's so many different ways you can do this. But I would, now if they battle because the 10-year-old's trying to boss around the 8-year-old, I would say stop trying to parent the 8-year-old or something like that on the behavior board, and then put rules for everybody. But say stop trying to parent your younger sister or whatever. Yeah, just say something like that. And every time she does, or stop being bossy to the 8-year-old. But you decide when she's saying something legitimate or just being a bossy pain in the butt. So yeah, you could put that on there, the behavior board. It's going to be work though. You got to watch them like a hawk. But all this stuff is work. None of this, getting respect is work. Setting yourself up as a leader is really hard work. You got to earn that. You got to earn the respect that you want. You can't just expect to get it. But maintaining it's easy. Getting respect is hard work, but maintaining it's easy. What should we do if the children behave with dad but misbehave when mom is around? Well, what's dad's doing that the kids are behaving? So maybe mom should take a leaf from dad's book. Like, you know what I'm saying? Why would that be? What's he doing different? If he's the authority, you might want to rethink that one. It's not what I would do. The old-fashioned authority method. So it's fear-based, it's intimidation-based. So that could be it. Or he might just be a leader. You decide. If he's a leader, then you might want to copy his lead. No pun intended. Okay. I'm going to read this out, but I don't really have a comment on it because nobody really knows. There are some studies on it that you can have, it's confirmation bias. You can find studies to prove any point you have, though. We have a 6-year-old that's very intelligent but enjoys videos. The more the video time, the worse the behavior. Do you believe the videos are linked to poor behavior? No, not necessarily. No. They might be, but they might not be. So yeah, that's not a definitive yes or no. Not at all. And you'd have to assess each child and, but basically he's doing something he likes and then you pull him away from that and then he's worse. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe you're not doing it right. Maybe you don't have like a set rule, maybe you don't use a timer. You say, okay, so you've got 30 minutes playing video games when the timer goes off. So he knows it's coming. I don't know how you manage screen time. So maybe that could be it too. But yeah, there's no definitive answer there. How do I know if my girlfriend will be a good mom? Does she have experience with kids? It's not always a tell, but yeah, how is she with other kids? I don't know. I don't know how you can tell. It's usually, it can be experience based or just a natural tendency. But what's interesting is a lot of my clients are teachers and they're wonderful at getting respect at school and they can't figure out why their kids don't respect them. Parenting is very different from teaching. Teaching is business. Parenting is personal. They're very different roles. So even say, oh, she's such a wonderful teacher. She'll be a great mom or he'll be a great dad. Not to say they're not great, but they don't always get respect at home. It's interesting, isn't it? That's why I never teach. I never teach teaching. I often get hired, they want to hire me for schools and that. And I don't teach. I've never taught. I wouldn't know how to do it. Teachers are saints in my book, I'll tell you. I've sat in the back of so many classrooms and just thought, oh, God, I couldn't do that. Tips for potty training a 2-year-old. I have a whole boot camp course if you're interested and a whole bunch of stuff, and potty training is in there. I actually just included that course in the potty training course in the other boot camp course too, because a lot of 3-year-olds aren't potty trained. You might have to adjust it slightly, but yeah, I can't give you any tips because it's a whole process. It's like, can you give me tips on flying a plane? No, it's a whole process. It's a whole system that I teach. Okay. We have a 3-year-old who has started a super hyper throwing, hitting, jumping, taking over everyone, yelling, all the stuff. How do you know if it is normal or potential ADHD? Well, those symptoms are not always ADHD related. That's kind of disrespectful behavior when it comes to hitting, taking over everyone, yelling. That's not ADHD. That's just disrespect. So work on your leadership. And if you're a really good leader and they're still wild and that, but I can't possibly, I can't give you that answer. I'm not a doctor, and no doctor could really answer that. Anyway, it's a whole assessment thing they go through. And really, when you get an assessment, anyway, a lot of parents get that ADHD, which so many kids seemingly have it now. They get that diagnosis, and then it's almost like they lean on it. Well, nothing I can do. He's got ADHD. Everything I teach is, I usually learned it with all those kids I worked with, and they were all hyper and all that. So if you've got a 1-year-old climbing out of his crib, I'd put them in a bed, put them on a mattress on the floor. That's what I did with my kids. As soon as they climbed out and hit the floor, that was when I dismantled the crib and put them just on the mattress on the floor with pillows around it. I remember my son doing it, and I was so shocked. He was my oldest, and then I put him back in his crib. And he did it right away again, plopped right in the floor again. So anyway, then I completely dismantled his thing. And then, I closed the door and he stayed in his room. I completely childproofed the room. So they will walk around for a while, but they'll get used to going in bed. My 3-year-old will have a consequence of no TV. Then a few hours later, we'll ask why she lost the TV. Should we talk about the bad behavior then and remind her how she lost it? No, I never discussed bad behavior. I would point to the board. Remember the board. And then if she keeps asking, then don't say it again. Just point to the board. The fewer words, the better. She'll learn as you go. Don't worry about them completely understanding everything about it right away. They'll learn as they go. When they get older, though, and they say, oh, I forgot. My favorite response is, well, you'll know next time, won't you? Well, I forgot about the rule. I forgot about that. Well, you'll know next time, won't you? And just follow through. They'll learn as you go. It's very fair. What part of Australia did you live in? We lived Marsfield in Sydney, and then up in Arana Hills. Oh, NEMU Plains out in Sydney. We owned a place, went out there, fixed it up, and sold it. And then and then Arana Hills, which is near Ferny Grove in Brisbane. That's where we spent most of our years there. We used to go up and down the coast for our holidays. Twin Waters Resort was one of our favorite places. If you've ever been to Australia, you've got to go to the Gold Coast. It's just beautiful. Just miles and miles of just gorgeous, gorgeous beach. Great idea about the floor mattress. Thank you. Yeah, you don't have to have a fancy bed. They can even just sleep on anything foam, they don't care. It's funny. I babysat my granddaughter a week ago, and I put her to bed. And because I could tell she was, tired and all that. So I got her in a little sleep thing and put her to bed. And then I was watching her. I don't know why this annoyed me, but I was watching her and I expected her to go right to sleep. She was like 30 minutes of just rolling around happily, just in bed, just and I thought, that's 30 minutes I could have been playing with her because I don't see her all the time, right? So I thought, she could have stayed up with grandma. I could have just cuddled her for 30 minutes, but she wanted to go to bed so she could just roll around. It just struck me as funny. I would have been thrilled when my kids went to bed, right? But as a grandmother, I don't see her all the time. So it's very different. Okay, I have a 7-year-old that's going through a lot at school, bad behavior, and then he talks back at home and all that. I would suggest the boot camp course for 3 to 12 years old. It sets you up as a leader. I always start with that. If you're a leader, it tends to settle everything down more because they come to you with everything and they just have higher self-esteem when they've got a leader as a parent, because a leader brings out the best in them. A leader makes them like themselves. They like themselves the most when they're with the leader. It's just the way it is. Have you ever had a mentor, someone that you look up to, like a teacher or a coach that made you feel great about yourself? That's what I teach. I teach leadership. Oh, okay, good. Good for you. You've done the work. Daughter just turned 3. We've worked really hard with lots of your recommendations to nip things in the bud before 3. Obviously still have moments, but we have noticed positive steps. Good. It's about one step at a time. A lot of parents, even when in coaching, every week I say, so how are things going? And they'll say, oh, this isn't working. And I say, oh, what's the wins? You must have some wins. Not always, but sometimes there's wins. Oh yeah, no, that's getting better. But they always want to focus on the negatives. I think we all do that, don't we? They always want to focus on the negative, but I say, okay, we'll get to that. But also, come on, let's congratulate the wins. I just give you the ideas. You're the ones who do all the work. So congratulate yourself. Pat yourself on the back. I have an autistic 10-year-old boy, and there are times I misunderstand if it's because of his issues or tantrums. Oh yeah, I don't know. Autism, I only discuss. It's more of a child with development, or if he's got delays, I don't know. Depends on what's going on, where he is on the spectrum. I only discuss that in coaching. It's more special needs, right? So that's only one-on-one with me if you're interested. I can't answer that. I'd have to assess the whole situation. What support have you had for him? Where is he on the spectrum? What's worked in the past? What hasn't? What does he like? What doesn't he like? What's your relationship like? All that stuff. I have to assess all that. Yeah, but what if the toddler leaves bedroom once he's not in a crib anymore? How do you keep him safe and contained in his room? Well, if he's, it depends on the age. Like if he's 2, I have bedtime battles. It's one of my courses. It's in both of my boot camp courses, and it's between 2 and 8 years old. Under the age of 2, I would probably have something on the door or like a bell or something, so I'd hear him get up. You want him to be. I never like to lock a kid in a room. I always figure, what if there's some emergency, a gas leak, and you guys pass out? I still want the toddler to be able to get out of their room. I know it sounds crazy, but I just have this phobia about locking kids in rooms. But I would put a bell or an alarm on the door so I could get up and keep putting them back to bed, put them back to bed. Eventually they'll stop fighting you and just fall asleep. Okay. Okay. 100 walk back method is not working for our 2-year-old. What is the next step? We haven't slept in 4 months. I don't know what's going on there. Sorry, but that would be coaching. That's a general course. That is by far my most successful method of everything I teach is the bedtime battles. It's the one that usually it's sort of done pretty quickly by most parents. But if it's not working, there's something else going on. So that would be coaching. Just something else going on that I don't know about. Best way to teach a 3.5-year-old to self-regulate emotions. We don't do that. We can't teach someone else how to regulate their own emotions. You set yourself up as a leader and that calms them down. Your leadership is what calms them down. They can only regulate when they've got a leader to make them feel safe and secure. So work on your leadership skills. It's everything. Like when I was working with troubled teens, I would never try and calm down a troubled teen. I just set myself up as a leader, someone they can respect. And I respected them, and that calmed them down. Yeah, it's a different way of looking at it. Sorry. I'm just looking on YouTube. I always forget to look down there. I always say, go to YouTube. I see all those questions and I forget to look at them. Okay. My 2-year-old son only wants to go to 2 places. Otherwise, he yells and screams. Let him yell and scream. He's totally in charge. He's basically saying, I only want to go there and there. If you don't take me there and there, I'm going to yell and scream. He's controlling you. Take him anyway. Let him yell and scream. Behind every fit, scene, meltdown, and tantrum that you ignore and work and just keep going on your life around is a lesson for him. See, I don't avoid that just because he's yelling and screaming. He's in control. He knows it. Okay. This is Lisa Roth. It's kind of a long question, but it looks like one I might like. That might be a little bit difficult, which I like. Okay, so if we are a leader parent, around 3-year-old kids should be getting a bit easier and the bad behavior falls away because their tactics don't work on a leader parent, right? And we shouldn't be experiencing the terrors 3, right? Yeah, that's the idea. 3 is a fork in the road, the age of 3. It's when they stop and think, and I always say it like this. On their 3rd birthday, because they have the ability to stop and think before they act. So on their 3rd birthday, they go like this. Now let me think. My parents don't know what they're doing. They're not leaders. I'm going to take over. So they often go really and get really difficult at 3, or they go, you know what? They know what they're doing. I'll just go along and be happy. So it's the fork in the road, 3 years old. If you've been a leader up till then, they get easier. If not, they get worse because they find their power. It's when they stop and think before they act and they realize you don't know what you're doing. So yeah, no. This is Rascal King. Why would you spell it like that? I don't know. Must be a reason. Okay. This is on YouTube. Garnishing your child's allowance from their accrued piggy bank. Is that an acceptable behavior board consequence? No, I don't do that. I don't use money as consequence. Unless they're a lot older and they broke something like big on purpose. I check out, I've got lots of videos on allowance. I have one of my biggest videos ever, got millions of views, was on chores versus allowance. And I did it like a year or 2 ago. I think it's on TikTok, but everywhere on all my platforms, look up allowance. And there'll be lots of videos on how you do it and why you do it that way. Damages of valued items, not necessarily the full amount. Like lots of kids have taken remote controls and thrown them at TVs and broken them. You're not going to get a kid to spend $2,000 to replace a TV, but I would take out enough money that it would hurt. Yeah, I would. That's a big one. Not with a toddler, though, or not with a little wee kid. They wouldn't have money anyway, but you know what I mean. When they're older and they do it on purpose and they know better, yeah, I would do it then. And then there'd be other consequences too, not just that. We are not on YouTube. Oh, that's okay. You're on Instagram. That's fine. And by the way, my podcast, not my podcast, my daughter and my podcast, we do it together, are on, it's also on YouTube if you want to see us talking. I don't know if you do or not, but our podcast we're doing it twice a week now. That's why I'm not doing my regularly scheduled lives anymore, which I've been doing for like a year and a half now. But I just don't have time. I can't do everything. And we're putting our energy where people are going. The podcast has been taking off, so we're putting more energy into that now. So that's why I'm doing lives whenever I can. I haven't been on much this week because I've been sick, but I used to do lives every day. I did that for about a year and a half maybe. Is it okay to take toys away from an almost 4-year-old? Yeah, check out my behavior board. It explains how you discipline. And also you've got to be on that too, because if you're not accountable, why should they be? Because they're watching you. They're not listening to you. They're watching you. So anyway, check out the behavior board. It's at BratBusters.com. I'm going to go over to TikTok now. You can also check out my free behavior boards on BratBusters.com. And you can also look up my boot camp course for toddlers, my boot camp course for 3 to 12-year-olds, or you can look into coaching. And our podcast is also on the website and on Spotify and all those other platforms. It's also on YouTube in video form. And that's called BratBusters Parenting. And my daughter and I, she's my business partner. We're doing that together. We work so beautifully together. She does all the marketing, all the social media, all the planning. She just tells me what we're doing, and I do. I'm the product. She's the one who drives the business, though. So, but yeah, so we work together and we're doing the podcast together. I'm shocked. She's very behind the scenes. She doesn't like being on camera at all. She hates it, actually. I was surprised she did that. It was her idea because I don't have any ideas in the business. She does it all. So yeah, she says that we've got to do the podcast together because someone needs to be feeding you the questions. So I thought, oh, okay. So we're doing it together, having a blast. So we're doing that twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday morning. If you get on the newsletter, you'll see that. And it's all on BratBusters.com. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm popping over to TikTok now. Happy parenting. Okay. There's no screen time limits when we're all sick. We've watched a lot of Thomas the Train. Oh, God. When you're sick, do whatever you want, whatever keeps them happy. Yeah, I would have laid in bed all day with the screens going all day. Yeah, do whatever you got to do. When they're sick, it's no time to worry about anything else. Just get them better. Keep them happy and healthy and, yeah, do whatever. Oh, and I just want to thank you guys on TikTok here, especially. I got started on TikTok 2 years ago, and yeah, it just took off. And overall, our platforms now, I think it was last month, we hit 1.6 million. And I just want to thank you. No one's more surprised than I am. I just can't believe it. Because I went on here and I thought, my daughter kept saying, you got to go on TikTok, Mom. You'd love it. And short form video format, which is me. It's all casual. I hate anything planned or fancy. I never like to think before I talk. And she goes, go on there. So yeah, I just took off here on TikTok. I couldn't believe it. So I just want to, voice my appreciation again, because it means a lot to me. And oh, you look great with your hair down. Thanks. I usually have it in pigtails because I'm always at the gym working out. But I've been sick, so I haven't been at the gym as much. Okay. Oh, someone said, this has been so amazing. Thank you for an amazing toddler. Oh, good. That means you're doing the work. I always say, I just give you the advice. You're the ones who do all the work. So pat yourself on the back. If things are going well, pat yourself on the back. I in my business, coaching is by far my favorite thing. Although I also really love doing my podcast with my daughter too, because that's really heartwarming. But I love coaching. And I've had so many funny things happen in coaching this week. Just really funny things happen. And what's funny is parents often come back to coaching, come back to a session all upset about something, as if they're the only ones in the world who've ever been through it. They really think, I think that no one really talks a lot about parenting struggles. And it's such a shame because so many of you are going through the same things. The problem is that if you start opening up about how your kids are driving you nuts, you're opening yourself up for criticism because not everyone's very nice, right? So, but yeah, I always think they actually think that they're the only ones going through this. So, but yeah, and then I'll end up telling them stories about what other parents go through and they go, really? I'm not the only one? Yeah. If you're struggling with your kids, you are not alone. You're in very good company. Parenting is the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training, and yet everyone expects you to be an expert, especially you. There's this old fallacy or old wives' tale that parenting should come naturally. That's absolute crap. There's two reasons that it used to come naturally. One, no one cared how they did it. And the other one was 100 years ago, they had a village raising kids. The whole street was raising kids. The household had like 2 or 3 generations in it, right? So you had all this help and support, plus no one cared about it. No one was trying to be a good parent. They didn't care. Like there was just, you raise your kids, you whack them on the butt when they're bad. And it was just, they didn't care. They weren't worried about it. But then there was also a whole village. So it did sort of come naturally, but it was different expectations and different dynamics. So I don't think it's something that really ever did come naturally. How do you stop a 2-year-old from running off? Put them on a leash. Say no running away from me. So next time you're going out, put a harness on them. And as soon as they start to run, clip them in and keep them clipped in that whole rest of that outing. Is it going to get ugly? Yep. Are they learning a lesson? Yep. Not the first time, maybe the 3rd or 4th or 5th time. You'll start out not clipping them in, but then as soon as they run, clip them in. Let them drop and scream. That's part of it. That's the lesson. Everyone's afraid of the scene. That is the lesson. Remember that 8-year-old I often talk about? I'd never met before. He didn't know me. And he said to me when I was first going to work with him, and he said to me, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said to him, bring it on. And he never did. You could just see it in his face. Oh, she knows what she's doing. I have no fear of that. None. So he was great with me. He couldn't work me. He realized that. So he was great. 15-year-old hits and does what else? Yeah, that's coaching. I couldn't answer that. 15-month-old that hits. 15-year-old. That happens too, but that's coaching. 15-month-old that hits. Yeah, you just say no, grab their hand, you say no, and then you might put them down or redirect them. Okay, but yeah, they're going to keep doing it. Don't discuss it. They're not words, they're actions. All these mini therapy sessions with toddlers, it's absolute garbage. Words are not their language. Actions are their language. So it's actually patronizing. You know that thing when they say you get down on their level and say, use your words? What a freaking patronizing thing to say to a toddler. I think that's stupid. I don't know who came up with that. I don't know anyone else out there. I stay out of that. I'm very careful. 2-year-old refusing nap time. Maybe they don't need naps anymore. Both my kids stopped regular naps at about 12 months old. So they just didn't need them anymore. They still have accidental ones, but they stopped regular naps at 12 months old. Or, if I don't know what to tell you there. I don't know. They don't all need naps. Some still nap at 4 years old. My kids sure did. Which was kind of nice because I could plan out my day easier. I didn't have to plan it out around a nap. And then they'd fall asleep in the car usually when we're driving, but friends that have kids that hit. 5-year-old and 3-year-old. Should I allow my kids near them? I wouldn't. I've lost friends over that. If I've had friends who their kids were beating up my kids, I never saw them again. Or I just see them at night. But oftentimes those friends that you're seeing with their kids, it's often play date friends. They were different kind of friends. So, or else I'd just see them at night for dinner or something. But yeah, no, I would never expose my kids to that. Yeah. You get one chance. Once your kid hits mine, I ain't seeing you no more. Unless they're trying to deal with it. That's different. But do you feel there's such a thing as an only child symptom and kids are better with siblings? No, no one knows about that. I was basically an only child, and so was my brother because we were 16 years apart. So we never grew up together. So I think we kind of are functioning human beings. No, I don't think there's such a thing. You can't generalize with that because lots of kids from big families or even just 2 kids, they have their own struggles too. They're jealous and resentment and there's all sorts of issues. I've had clients with some really big families, like, 7, 8 kids. And this one family, I thought this was so brilliant. I never thought about this. That's such a good one. I had different ideas, but this was so good. I said, well, what about sharing? I asked them about that because we were going through things that we were working on. And then I said, oh, well, what about sharing? Assuming they were going to say, oh, God, what a nightmare. And they said, no, no problem with that. They had like 7 or 8 kids. And I said, wow. I said, how do you do that? And they said, well, the rule is that when someone, it's their birthday or Christmas and they get their own present, it's theirs for the first week and then it's everybody's. Or it's theirs for the first week or until they get tired of it. And then it's everybody's. They had no problems with sharing. And they had like 7 or 8 kids. Wow. Isn't that amazing? I thought, how clever. I never forgot that one. I thought it was brilliant. What's your opinion on the naughty step? That's like timeout. Can't stand it. Hate it. I think it's humiliating. Would you like a naughty step at work? Or a timeout corner at work? Yeah, I don't like it. I think it's labeling and mean, and yeah, I don't like it. So that's my opinion. Oh, I don't have any opinions on co-sleeping or Montessori or homeschooling or religion. Those are all personal choices. Or breastfeeding for years. That's all personal choices. So we co-slept with my daughter till she was about 8 months old, I think, and we hated it. We were always terrified of rolling over on top of her, so we never really slept. We'd take turns sleeping, basically. So one would hold her and sort of be half asleep, then the other would hold her and be half asleep. So yeah, we hated it. We're just terrified of smothering her. It's not for everybody. If you like it, I don't have any opinion on it. I hated it, but I don't have any opinion on you doing it. I don't have any recommendations. What's a good way to approach timeout in a non-humiliating way? Don't do it. I hate it. I can't stand it. If they're under 3, use consistent corrective actions. Or if they're 3 and over, use the behavior board. You can get that free. There's a whole little mini course on that for free. And it's on my website, BratBusters.com. It explains how you discipline 3 and above and under 3. But timeout is one of my least favorite things. The other one is diversion, and the other one is the countdown method. Can't stand any of them. Why am I laughing with that silly? Because I've got a cold and I'm all nasal. My laugh is all... I sound like an old grandmother, which I am a grandmother, so I am stupid. Anyway, sound like an old grandmother. I'm 64, and I can remember, I think it was my mom or one of my aunts. They had their 50th birthday, and I thought, oh my God, imagine living till you're 50. I can remember that when I was a kid. Imagine living till you're 50. God, is there anything to live for? I think things are different now, though. That was back, a long time ago. And I think sort of the generation, we're looked at a bit differently in our 50s and 60s than we looked at our generation above. A little bit different. Do you consider go to your room timeout? Yeah, I do. Yeah. Timeout, it's sending them away from you. If I'm disciplining a kid, I want to be there. I never try and avoid them. It's avoidance. Is there ever a scenario where you would interrupt a tantrum? If they're hitting, but I still don't look at them or talk to them. I just physically restrain them. Or if they're sick or something. I do whatever they want if they're sick. Whatever they're tantruming over, they get it if they're sick, because that's different. What about needing space? Is that avoidance? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't talk like that, so I can't comment on that. It's so not my voice. I can't comment on it. Yeah. I have no idea what you mean by this, but I'm going to read it out anyway. What do you think about children mimicking the right behavior versus believing in the reason why? What on earth do you mean by that? Mimicking the right behavior versus believing in the reason why? Oh, who cares? I think what you're saying is, do they have to mean it? Who cares? Just be nice. They'll eventually lean into it and understand it. They don't have to understand everything right away. They don't have to believe in it. No, absolutely not. I don't always believe in not speeding, but I try not to speed. I'd like to speed sometimes. I think it's appropriate sometimes. Not bad speeding, but you know what I mean. You don't have to agree with it. You just have to do it. Okay, I took your advice of not letting the 2-year-old out of the shopping cart at the store, and it worked. Yeah, good for you. That's good. What I say is shopping with a toddler is just be consistent. If you always have them sitting up in that seat, I had a goodie bag, something to entertain them in there with. They never would ever walk beside the trolley. So they didn't know any different. They didn't even know it was an option to not sit in that seat because they never knew any different. It's like my kids didn't know that you could eat without sitting at a table because they'd never done it. So they just had no clue that there was any other way to eat aside from sitting up at the table. So it's like that. Plus, I never let my kids help when we were grocery shopping because a 2-year-old doesn't understand why they can throw toilet paper in the back and not a jar of pickles. They don't understand that. You're just asking for trouble. You're being inconsistent and unfair. So they don't understand inconsistencies at 2 years old. So yeah, just be consistent, have a goodie bag. What if a toddler refuses to get dressed? Get them dressed anyway. I used to tell my kids, oh, we're going to change your nappy now. Well, it was called a nappy in Australia where I raised them. So we're going to change your diaper now. I didn't care if they wanted to or not. It was going to get changed. So, whereas their dad, on the other hand, was more the pleaser parent style. So he would say, okay, I'll let you down. We'll get a toy first. Who do you think they learned quicker with and never squirmed? The one who followed through. Just make it happen anyway. You got to win these small battles. Okay, we're going to brush your teeth. No, no, no. I held their head in my arm and I brushed their teeth. Wasn't done very well, but I said, we're going to brush your teeth now. No, no. I followed through. But I was very careful what I said. If I knew they might put up a bit of a stink, I was very careful. I was ready for a fight. So, okay, we're going to get changed now. No, no, no. Pick them up. Got them changed. I might have got their pants on their head and their shirt in their bottom. I don't care. I'm getting them changed. They learned very quickly that when mom said something's going to happen, there's no point fighting because mom's going to make it happen anyway. But I mixed it with a lot of fun. If you're not also fun and playing with them and connecting, like I don't teach discipline very often. It's more about connecting. If you're not connecting with your kids and playing with them a lot, none of this stuff works. You got to be fun. You got to play is their love language. Fun is their love language. So I was fun and they wanted fun mom. So why would they act out? They love fun mom. I chased them around the house every day with underpants on my head when I was doing the laundry every day. They like fun mom. Why would they act out? Because then the underpants would come right off and I'd say, well, try again tomorrow if they were rude. Or you see what I mean? That was my superpower with kids. I used to be asked, how do you get such good behavior when you're working with kids or your own kids? And I said, well, my superpower is fun or funny. I'm funny with teenagers or I'm fun with kids. So I'm not so funny or fun if they act out. They want the fun and the funny, right? You want the positive mom or Lisa. You want the fun one. So think about that. That's what I did. There's a bit more to it, but yeah, you got to be connecting and playing with them, making them feel good. By the way, check out the pool story. It's the very first video. It's called Example of Leadership Parenting. If you haven't already seen it, it sums up how I feel about how you treat kids. Okay. It just sums it all up, what leadership is to me. You deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. My whole goal with kids is that they like themselves when they're with me. Therefore, they want to please me. Teenagers, not so. It's different with teenagers. Toddler hates being in car seat. Advice? No advice at all. They'll just get used to it. My daughter didn't like it. And she was a very easy kid. And even as a newborn, she hated the car seat. She would fuss and just grunt. She wasn't a crier, but you could tell. She used to get car sick. And so, yeah, I haven't gotten any advice, really. They'll either get used to it or maybe it's just going to be a miserable thing for them. She still gets car sick. So, but even as a newborn, it's the only time she ever really fussed is when she went in the car. Top book recommendations, first 10 years of life. Oh, I've never read a book on kids or parenting, so I don't know. I'm self-taught. Kids taught me all this. Okay, I got to get going. If you want to check out BratBusters.com, you can see the free behavior board. It's actually a mini course, and it also has a section on toddlers. So under the age of 3 and then 3 and over. That's all completely free. It's on BratBusters.com. Or you can look up the boot camp courses, one for toddlers and one for 3 to 12-year-olds. Which one is it? The potty training mini course is now in the 3 to 12-year-old one. You might have to adjust a few things if they're 3 and over and still not potty trained. You just have to use your own discretion with that, because you might have already partially potty trained, but it'll still give you some good ideas. Anyway, so yeah, we've just included that one in there. And then you can look into coaching. There is a wait list for coaching. But anyway, I got to get going. Thanks so much for joining me. I've been sick this week, so I haven't been doing very, very many. Oh, why did you leave Australia? My mom got ill. Yeah, back here in Canada. That's why. And yeah, I would never have left Australia. And but yeah, and then I had a few good years with her, and then she died in my arms at 93 years old. It was beautiful. I would have missed out on that if I'd stayed in Australia. You know, I have no regrets. But yeah, I never left Australia because I wanted to. I was fully immersed. I had no North American friends at all. For all the 20 years I was there, I had no North American friends. Isn't that weird? You'd think I would have met some Americans and Canadians over there. I met the odd one, but we never became friends. It was all Kiwis, Aussies, or Poms were my friends there. But isn't that funny? You'd think I would have met some but I never tried to. Like, it was just, I was Australian. But yeah, I left because I adored my mother, and I'm the only daughter, and I wanted to be with her in her final years. So, and I was there when she died. She died in my arms. And the last breath she took was a laugh. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, I was very lucky. Anyway, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting. Good night.